Our Sergeant Major
sounds familiar.
I just wanted to extend a thank you for coming out and seeing our aircraft today. I always get the same questions when I come and do these things. How fast does it go? How high does it go? How much does it weigh? Those kind of questions. So rather than tell everybody 1,000 times. I'll just put it out now. The max velocity of this aircraft is 193 knots. I think that's around 230 miles per hour across the ground. We don't usually cruise that fast, though. That's kind of ripping. We usually cruise around at about 120 knots. The service ceiling of this helicopter is 20,000 feet. Again, not an altitude that we commonly go at. Aircraft, helicopters of this sort, we own anywhere from about 5 feet off the treetops all the way to about 1,000 feet. That's where we're more comfortable. Maximum crew for this is 4. That's 2 crew chiefs and 2 pilots, or a crew chief, a door gunner, and a pilot, or a crew chief, a medic, and a pilot, depending on the mission, and 2 pilots, depending on the mission of the aircraft. Maximum weight of this aircraft is 22,000 pounds. This aircraft sitting here today is about 15,000 pounds. It has an external hook off the bottom that can carry up to 9,000 pounds externally. This helicopter was built in 2007. This is a UH-60 Mike model. It's the most modernized utility helicopter, medium utility helicopter in the Army. It replaced the UH-60 Alpha Lima, which replaced, I see a lot of Vietnam hats out here, the best helicopter that's ever flown in the Army, the UH Huey. Everybody knows the Huey. The Army said, hey, we want something safer, we want something faster, and we want something with 2 engines. Sikorsky bid the Black Hawk, and I believe in 1978 it entered service. We've been flying them ever since. We'll fly them for another 50 years. They're a heck of an aircraft. I personally have been flying for about 4 years. I believe Jordan has been flying for 4 years as well, and Sergeant Sheehan, since he's not around to hear me, has been flying for a long time because he's an old guy. The path to flight school was a long and arduous one. It was a 2-year program down in Fort Rucker. The Army PCS'd my family and I down to Fort Rucker. I learned how to fly helicopters. I came back here and thought I was the coolest, baddest helicopter pilot on the planet. Sat down with a guy that had more time in a helicopter than I had on Earth, and he showed me that I am not the coolest or baddest helicopter pilot on the planet. He had a hat like your hat, and he taught me that I'm nothing. I'm still learning to fly to this day. It's one of those things where the second you think you got it licked, this big, powerful, humbling machine almost kills you, and you realize you're not nearly as good as you thought you were. This aircraft took the UH-60 Alpha Lima and modernized it. In the cockpit, you can see it has a fully glass cockpit. Gone are the steam gauges. Everything's digital. It's like flying with 4 iPads. With that comes all the perks of flying fully digital. Sometimes it just doesn't work. And I don't have my 8-year-old here to fix it for me like I do my iPad. So some of the younger, smarter guys that are coming up in the Army that are cooler on electronics and stuff, they have a leg up on stuff like this than post-millennial guys like myself. It also increased the power plant. This right here is a 701 Delta engine. On the other side, 701 Delta engine. Those are produced by GE, approximately 2,000 shaft horsepower per engine. This aircraft has fully redundant engines. It can fly on a single engine. That's what the Army wanted when they replaced the Huey. In this flight environment in Michigan, that engine can stop completely, and I can still cruise around like nothing's happening. In addition to that, it has an auxiliary power unit in between these 2 engines. It's a 3rd engine that's basically a Honda Civic engine that's powerful enough to start these 2 engines. It's an engine to start the other 2 engines. Flight hydraulics are completely redundant. Obviously, you're not strong enough to muscle all of these flight controls, so there's 3 redundant flight hydraulic systems. If one goes out, the number 2 system can provide hydraulic power. If number 2 goes out and number 1 goes out, there's a completely redundant backup system. If number 3 goes out and all 3 of them go out, you shouldn't have been on the flight schedule that day. You're going upstairs. Other than that, improved durability gearbox, improved transmission, designed to operate in the harshest environments that we're operating in, high threat environments, hot, heavy, high environments. This is the most modernized medium utility helicopter in the inventory. I can answer any questions that you guys might have, and if not, you don't know any better, so I can make stuff up, and you'll think I'm telling you the truth. So feel free to ask anything. I'll make something up, and I'll tell you. Cool? Cool. Thanks for coming out and seeing us, guys.
Thank you.
Feel free to climb in if you want to get in the cockpit and take a look. There's little yellow balls on the door. If you climb in the cockpit, please do not pull those little yellow balls. My doors will fall off. Anything else, John?
No.
Thanks for coming out, guys.
Welcome, everyone. We really appreciate you coming out on this beautiful day and showing up to honor the Vietnam veterans and hero veterans. And this wheels around, you know that? At this time, I'd like to ask everybody to reach into their pocket or whatever, take your cell phone and put it in the mute position. You off. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody that provided the activities here, the helicopter flying, request of Greg Durkert, military vehicle display, Vietnam veteran Dan Brewer, Navy boiler, third class. Is he here? Is he inside? Outside? He's done a bang-up job. Okay. The refreshments from the Ladies Auxiliary, American Legion Post Auxiliary 119 in Linden. Thank you. Music of the period. You heard that? You can't hear me in the back? I'll get closer to the mic then. Is that better? Yes. You, can you hear me? Yep. Thank you. All right. Good. Anyways, we're thanking the ladies for all of your refreshments and everything out there. They did a nice job. And the Halsey group, the old timer, the band, excellent job. You know, I'm supposed to have 6 pages, I only got 5, hopefully get them all right. There's one missing, you find it, raise your hand, here. Okay. In memory of those who cannot be with us, POW/MIA missing man table, the Vietnam veteran William Johnson and Felicia West of the DAB, Genesee County Chapter 3.
Hi, I'm Felicia. Before we begin our activities, we pause to recognize the POWs, the MIAs. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the table in front of you. This table occupies a place of dignity and honor. We ask that you remain seated, yet silent as we conduct the POW MIA ceremony. This table is set for our prisoners of war and those missing in action from all wars. They are not with us this evening. We call them comrades. They are unable to be with their loved ones and families, so we join together and pay humble tribute to them and bear witness to their continued absence. The table is white. It symbolizes the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. Let us remember, as we place each cap representing the branches of their service, United States Army, United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, United States Coast Guard, and the United States Air Force. The single red rose signifies the blood they may have shed and sacrificed to ensure the freedom of our beloved United States of America. This rose also reminds us of the family and friends of our missing comrades who keep faith while awaiting their return. The yellow ribbon symbolizes our continued determination to account for them. The red ribbon on the rose represents the love of our country, which inspired them to answer the call. The black ribbon stands for the emptiness of these warriors have left in the hearts of their families and friends. A slice of lemon on the plate reminds us of their bitter fate. The salt sprinkled on the plate reminds us the countless fallen tears of families as they wait. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us at this time. The empty chairs depict unknown faces representing the soldier, the sailor, the airman, the Marine, and the Coast Guardman. They are not here in person, yet are all here with us this evening. The lone candle symbolizes the brutality of a prisoner alone trying to stand up against his oppressors. The candle is lit, reminiscent of the light of hope, which lives in our hearts to illuminate their way home, away from their captives, to the open arms of a grateful nation. The POW's, MIA's flag is posted to mourn the fact that many of our comrades will not return to our shores and to pay tribute to their passing. As we look upon this empty table, do not remember ghosts from the past, but remember our comrades. The American flag reminds us that many of them may never return and have paid the supreme sacrifice to ensure our freedom. The prayer for the POWs and the MIAs. May we bow our heads. Our Heavenly Father, we deem this is a fitting time to pay our respects to our departed comrades. As we stand and with bowed heads in reverence, you don't have to stand. Let us remember the good deeds they accomplished. Let us revere them as good soldiers who fought the good fight in a just cause. Let us silently pray for peace, the peace that passes all understanding. And let us in mind and soul consecrate our hearts and lives to the real America, the land of the free and the home of the brave. The America worth fighting for. As we sit in silence to our departed comrades, may we sincerely say, may their souls rest in peace. Let us also remember the POWs and the MIAs still unaccounted for from the wars and conflicts. May this wreath of dried grapevines remind us of our departed, although deceased, are still with us. And may the poppies remind us we will never, never forget him. Amen.
Amen.
We'll have the patriotic song, God Bless America.
Okay, what I'm gonna do with God Bless America is I'm gonna go through it one time. The second time around, I want to see everybody in this place singing God Bless America, and you can actually rise when you sing it. Okay? If I could have some little things, God Bless America. Somebody hit me with an A. Just hit me with an A number. More of an A so I can hear it. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Everybody join me now, come on. God bless America. Can't hear you yet. Land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide and long. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Yes, God bless America, my home, sweet home. Give yourself a rousing round of applause. Come on, you guys.
Thank you. Now we'll get our program for those who are listening live, most of the phone. We have Wayne Peterson, Gerald Skinner, and Fred Lockie. We have post number 3243, Benton Color Guard. National anthem. Ziegler, Hickey.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight All the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the rockets rankled, the bombs bursting in them, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Mid Michigan, Therapy Dogs and American Legion Advocate. Here we have Miss Poppy, Miss Rose Smith, it's covered by the Robert Myers Smith.
See? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Exercise pass.
What's that?
Location, Chuck Richard Plant, American Legion 119. Captain Richard Lang. Amen, brother.
We bow before thee, our Heavenly Father, in humble prayer, thanking thee for the manifold blessings thou hast bestowed upon us. In this our beloved, our hearts are filled with gratitude for our sacred institutions of America. Preserve thy inspired counsel. That no adversary of light destroy freedom, worship, and bless those who direct our nation. Remember, Lord God, those who bear arms. Bless the homes in which they call. Forgive our errors and weaknesses, turning from the wrong and unprofitable ways. And pray for your refinement, righteousness, and truth. Founded by the Father, for the name's sake. Amen.
Get the mic? I'm Mike. Okay, here we go. Everybody seated in memory of those who cannot be with us. We have advance, take brother song and that. Okay. Introduction of a host. You ready here? Yeah.
Jesus.
Hey, Zeus. Where are you? Here he comes. Thank you. I found that extra page, by the way.
I am proud to be standing here with all of you. Glad to welcome you all home, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Commander of the Legion here, and Ed People, Superintendent of Linden Schools, and Lieutenant Colonel, the National Michigan National Guard, 1st Battalion, 182nd, Field Auxiliary Regiment. All right, good. Thank you. Fine job. Special guest in the audience, the Linden High School, Russ Santelli. Yeah, I got it close. I went to sports grade, by the way. So I'm grateful to be up here and alive here. So, Linda Wallace and her husband. And Michigan Commander Bill Wallace. And American Legion Marilyn Britton, Legislative Chairman, Department of Michigan. Jim Hernandez, Jude Advocate, American Legion, Department of Michigan. And now we have a few words from Senator Mike Wall. He's the Michigan Senate Majority Report Leader.
Thank you very much. I guess you can hear me now. I want to welcome all of you here. These are special occasions that we do all over the state of Michigan. And before I get started as to how this all began, I want to take this opportunity to introduce Lynn O'Brien on my staff. Lynn is the driving force behind all this work that's being done for the Vietnam veterans, and she's really taken this way above and beyond the call of duty. So thank you. A year and a half ago in October, we had some World War II veterans at the Capitol building. And, they're moving a little slow these days. They're not as spry as they used to be, but a lot of them were Marines, and they forgot that they're not 18 anymore. But they were visiting with us, and we took them around the Capitol building and bought them lunch and just enjoyed the day and listening to some stories. And there was a husband and wife couple there. They were both Master Sergeants in the Marine Corps. And I asked who ranked who. The old guy told me, he said, it depends if we're out of the house or in the house. If I got home, she's in charge. But with them was a younger fellow that was the bus driver. And he was there with them and just making sure that they got where they had to go. And at the end of the day, Lynn had prepared certificates for all of them, thanking them for their service. And she found out that the bus driver was a Vietnam veteran. And at the end, we called them all up, where I went over and handed them to them if they couldn't walk. And I called this younger fellow up, and I said, I was thanking him for his service. And he looked at me, and I noticed he was crying. And he said, that's the first time anyone has ever thanked me for my service during Vietnam. So Lynn and I are walking back to our office, and I told her, I said, we can't let this go on. We've been doing work with veterans for almost 20 years together, and that just really struck a chord with me. So we decided to do a Welcome Home Vietnam Veteran Day in Lansing, right on the Capitol steps. And we picked October, which is not the smartest thing to do here in Michigan, because we never know about the weather. But we ended up with a day like today. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. It was just a perfect fit. We had people in from Washington, D.C. We had different groups in, Daughters of the American Revolution. We had the Foreign Legion. Just everybody was there. But we didn't know how many veterans were going to show up. We had over 2,000 people show up. And right there, then and there, we knew that this was going to be something that we were going to continue on during my tenure in the Senate. We've had over 40 pinning events as of today. We have had them in Air Force bases, retired Air Force bases. I've gone out, and Lynn has gone out, we put pins on one person, and our goal is to get as many Vietnam veterans with this 50-year anniversary plan. But what I'm telling veterans, and I want to pass this along to each and every one of you that served or grew up in that era, as we all did, that the story needs to be told. Don't not pass the stories on. Good, bad, the ugly, and the fun. You know, I had a couple of Navy officers that were on the Brownwater Navy, and they were dropping off a couple of Marines way up in the boonies. And they dropped them off, and they hadn't even started the boat yet, and they heard the Marines disappeared in the jungle, and they came back yelling, "Start the boat, start the boat." So everybody on the boat, you know, was at their guns, they're expecting to see Viet Cong coming out of the jungle. And the Marines got on the boat, and they backed up and pulled away, and there was 2 tigers sitting. Now, I'm going to clean this up because I think this is a PG audience. But one Marine said, "I'll go and I'll fight every Viet Cong that there is, but I'm not fighting no tigers." But tell the stories, because these young people don't really understand what it was like going home from high school and coming home and finding that letter. "Greetings, the President of the United States requests your presence at Fort Wayne, bring a toothbrush." And I distinctly remember standing in the hallway in my underpants holding a toothbrush. And it's funny now, it wasn't so funny at the time. But I was lucky. I stayed in college, and I had a rating already with the Navy. Had they chose to take me, but they had their quotas. But a lot of my friends went. 2 that their names are on the wall there in Washington D.C. And I think about these guys more and more every day. It might be because I'm getting a little bit older, and I'm going to be seeing them here sooner or later. But I'm thinking about the sacrifices and the sacrifices that your families made. And the fact that you all served with distinction and honor. And you were proud. Yes, we didn't want to go, but we went and we did what we had to do. And we fought the good fight. And never has there been a time over there where the American military didn't come out on top. Yeah, we got bruised up, we got, lost a lot of good people. But at the same time, we were winning. The military was winning that war. It was the politicians that made us lose that war. It was the lack of political will to continue. So I want to make sure that each and every one of you pass this message along to your neighbors, to your nieces, nephews, your children, your grandchildren now, and let them know that you went and you served with honor and distinction and came home, and there was not the parades like there is today. So I want to thank each and every one of you, and this is one of my ways of doing it, by getting these pins on your chest. And we're going to pin each person, we'll get a pin put on them, because it's something that I think is due to you, and I know that you should receive a lot more, but this is what we can do in the here and now. So again, thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifices. Thank you for the sacrifices your family made. And above all, God bless America, and God bless every one of you.
Amen.
Well, that was well said. This was right. Anyways, I really appreciate what has been said here. As a Vietnam veteran, served their country in '67 and '68 with 101st Airborne. And, thank you. That happens if you get too close. Anyways, I just, April 7th and April 11th have always been a memory in my mind since '68. I was wounded in a place called Phuc Vinh, just a little bit north of Saigon and Ben Blanc, these places. And on April 11th, 49 years ago, I got the $1 million wound. It enabled me to, I was there, 5 months? months and 16 days, we moved it twice, but I was one of the very last people in my whole outfit to get wounded. And the animosities and the grief that you went through back then versus what's today. I reach out to all you veterans for that same reason. What I went through, what you've been through, and today that we are being honored for what we didn't get then. And this is really a bang-up celebration here. It brings tears to my eye. I still get the goosebumps. And that's something you don't get that often anymore. Anyways, let's go on here. Mr. Ken Horn.
Thank you. I'm grateful and humbled to be just a small part of this ceremony, and I thank my good friend Senator Kowal for helping us organize this event. You know, having friends like Mike means that I get to participate in meaningful and interesting things like this. But, you know, I tell you, I didn't serve, but my parents came here, first generation American. My parents came here from a communist country. My father was killed by the Russian army. He died in a Russian Siberian prison camp. And my father was tortured by the Eastern Army. They escaped the Berlin Wall just shortly before it was finally built around Berlin. And they came here for one very simple thing, and that was the promise of American freedom. And it was the American soldier that kept America's promise to my parents. And while I didn't serve, my family and I are truly grateful for our veterans and our active service members who have made that ultimate sacrifice and that promise to my parents. And so thank you very much. And, you know, that we say that often around Veterans Day and Memorial Day. We talk about those things, and I had a chance to be in Montrose when we dedicated the Montrose Bell, Memorial Bell. And if you haven't seen it, you should. You know, I've had a chance to talk at the Michigan Military Museum. It's in Franklin, it's in my hometown, but it belongs to all of you. And you may know some of the people that are in it. Friends, family, colleagues, comrades. You should do all these things to remember. Bishop Ken Upner once said many years ago that in the end, we're never going to be judged on the things that we collect in life. We're never going to be judged on the things that we accomplish. Now, in the end, we're all going to be judged on one very simple thing, and that's how we treated each other. And, you know, in looking back, you know, we treated a lot of our American heroes very well when they came home. And the Vietnam veteran was not treated that well. They were told to put the uniforms away, don't walk proudly through the airport on their way home. But just recently, we started seeing some of our veterans in the last decade or two walking proudly in our parades, our hometown parades. They walk proudly. And they get standing ovations. And we say thank you. And sometimes when it's very noisy, they may not hear the thank you, but if you're standing on the sidelines and you see of that, and for our purposes here, especially a Vietnam veteran, and you want to say thank you, one very simple thing you can do, thank you. And they'll know what you're talking about. Also, I'm grateful to be here with my colleague, State Representative Joe Graves, who served proudly. And we want to just say to you, from the bottom of our hearts, to all of our Vietnam veterans who are going to be pinned today in our ceremony, and we'll be able to get a chance to talk to you personally and shake your hand and welcome you home. But we want to say, we really mean this, and I'm so grateful, and thank you to Jesus and Edizano for all the work that you put in this, and the Legion, the VFWs, and for all of the work that is put into this event right here today. Because there's no place better on earth to be than in this auditorium in Linden at this moment. And thank you, Ed, for providing this great venue for us. And so with that, I'm going to close my portion by saying just very simply, thank you for your service and truly welcome home.
And Lyndon, Joe Graves. Come on up and say a few words, Joe.
Thank you. I actually was not planning on speaking. I started this morning in Lansing, and Ken and I had an event early afternoon in Flushing, and I had to go to another part of the district. And here today, but I want to make sure I was here to participate in this process. I served during the Vietnam era. United States Army Artillery. I had the hearing to prove it. And I remember, and those of you in the audience will remember, we were told to fly military standby, you had to have price, you had to wear a uniform. We were all proud of our uniform. We didn't have a problem doing that. But it got to be so bad, they told us, just show your ID. Don't fly in your uniform because of this, the way you're treated in the Air Force in different areas. So today they're remembering what happened with Jews in Germany. That's a remember state for them. They remember that because they don't want to repeat. They don't want to ever repeat that again. That's the same reason we have to continue to do this to remind people that Vietnam veterans were treated badly, and we shouldn't ever repeat that. So welcome home.
Now we'd like to have our guest speaker, Vietnam veteran Joe Caballero, Sergeant, U.S. Marine Corps.
I want to show everybody something here. I hope everybody can hear me. I like to talk loud anyways. A couple people in the audience know that Jim, my old boss, my good friend, my brother. With me on this story that I wrote. I have my dog tag and my John Wayne piano over here. It stuck with me through all of these years, okay? And one of the stories that I'm going to tell is about my dog tags. Well, when I was first asked if I would consider being a guest speaker here, I emphatically said, yes, I will. And I thought, what am I going to say? My wife, Lena, down in the audience, you're going to be here in a minute. We both spent a lot of time talking about that. We decided I had enough to say to keep at least her interested for a few minutes. So I started writing. Soon I discovered the emotions in me that had been hidden, or that I had struggled with for over 50 years. I was able to unravel some troubled memories. Even though I'm emotional, I'm going to tell you what. I had been a public speaker for 25 years. And my knees are knocking right now because I'm going to expose myself to all of you. You will all know who I am. I was able to unravel some troubled memories. I cried a lot. And we cried a lot. Bob Delaney, would you escort my wife here, please? You have to meet her because she's the reason I'm alive. We've been married 51 years. Well, so you know that about me. Nowadays, I like to think of myself as a singer-songwriter. I will share with you the lyrics to a couple of songs I wrote about what I'm going to talk about. Most of the songs I write are about the angel that's been sitting on my shoulder since I was 16 years old. That would be Lena. I discovered that writing and talking about this experience has had a cathartic effect on myself, and I think Lena's happier too, seeing some of my long-term issues hopefully laid to rest. Now, The number of casualties, I didn't move this thing. The number of casualties in the Vietnam War is often listed as 58,000 plus United States service people. The actual number is much higher, says me, because we don't count the casualties of the effects of this war. I decided to call my story One a Minute, but Not Alone. That's what I've learned in my life's journey. The title is paradoxical, it's contradictory, but in spite of being one of many, we can be alone. So here we go, I'm stumbling and fumbling, and Lena's saving me again. This is my story concerning the Vietnam experience. I always wanted to be a Marine. From as far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a Marine. I'm Joseph Cavallaro, a 72-year-old pleasant-speaking gentleman. That's what all my doctors called me. I was born in 1945 in Saginaw, Michigan. We were financially poor, but well-taught family back then. I worked since I was able to walk, and I made it through high school by the grace of God. My childhood best friends forever were Tony and Carlos. As many others, after high school graduation, we all got jobs at different GM factories in the area. I first saw my wife to be Lena at the age of 16 in an up-north town. I like to think that we both picked each other at that time. She later moved to Saginaw where we really fell in love. Life went on happily. This is what I wrote about that. I knew when I first saw her she was special. Our eyes met, and then she knew too. We laughed and sang and danced until tomorrow, making memories for the future, me and you. In 1965, we all heard about Vietnam. We were all patriotic souls. Lena was from a lifelong military family, Air Force. She probably understood more about military service than I did. Now this is really important, it stuck with me for 50 years. Upon explaining my unending desire to be a Marine to my best friends, and the need our country had for us at the time, we three enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. We went through boot camp in San Diego. We three were transformed into United States Marines. Everything we heard about boot camp was true. The Corps took us from boys to men to Marines. To this day, I do love the Marine Corps. We all ended up at Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point, North Carolina. Yay, good duty there, it was. I proposed to Lane and we got married December 17, 1966. It was a good day. She would end up saving my life a few times in my life. Carlos was the first to get orders to Vietnam. He went first. Tony and I got our orders together in the summer of 1967. While home on leave, Lena and I found out she was with child. Tony and I left for jungle training in August of '67. It was at that time, leaving Lena, that I first knew what true heartache was. It was crushing. This is what I wrote about that. Along came the war, I had to leave her. It hurt so bad. I couldn't take much more. I asked her to be mine forever. She smiled and said, I'll always love you more. Well, Carlos went to Da Nang, and Tony went to Da Nang, and Joe Lee got sent to a place called Phu Bai, just south and west of Hue. I later learned their mission was to set up a supply base to support Quang Viet Dong on Khe Sanh. Are there Marines in here? We have a few Marines. Anybody, them names familiar to anybody? Except for 5 of you guys.
Except for 5, brother.
Oh yeah, December 5. Okay, after a few days there, I drew guard duty and I got shot at for the first time. I thought, oh shit. This is for real. It's never for real until. Okay. The next couple of months were eventful, guard and perimeter duty, few rockets, mortars, bunker building, and getting out supplies. We had a lot of Vietnamese hired at our base to assist with the work. The monsoons came, the red mud was over our boots. I thought we would never dry out and it would never end, but it did. Lieutenant 68. Some of the Vietnamese workers we hired had walked up all the measurements of our entire compound. Then it all started. I remember that night. Red flares over there, red flares over there, red flares over there. They were coming into our wires, and all around us, mortars and rockets were marching up and down our boot joints, you know. I recall my mind going in slow motion. My very being doing everything possible to survive. I remember the screams of the guys in the corner. I felt like I was outside of myself. To this day, I do not believe that I was capable of doing what I did. But came and saved us. The Marines needed Papas. I still have nightmares about that night. I still fall into bumps over that night. And Lena continued to hug and hold me as she always has. After that, we do the assignment of redistributing the re-chromed M16 rifles in I-Corps. We packed them in, took them in by chopper, 6x, however. We were ambushed and road mined and mortared at when we landed. Somehow the memory of all that's fading. But that night, the night they came, remains with me as if it happened last night. The rest of my tour there, I know it was changed forever, and I got through the tour the best I could. Lena and I had a son in April, and I needed to get home to them. When my orders came, there was no transportation available, so I packed my bags and hitchhiked to the name. There I met Tony, who also had his orders to go home. We got on the plane, picked up our gear in Okinawa, and we came home. A couple of memories have stuck with me forever. I have something to do with this angel on my shoulder. One night, we were taking incoming, we all jumped in the bunker. I need to back and tell you a common thing in Vietnam was to tape our dogs, take dog tags together so they don't rattle on each other and give our positions away. I lost so much weight over there. In order to not lose my wedding band, I took it off and taped it to my dog tag chain. When we jumped in the hole that hot steamy night, I realized I had left my wedding band and dog tags next to my rack. I rushed out to get them, and the bunker took a hit while I was out of it. I somehow believe it was that angel working for me. I brought the dog tags with me today with my John Wayne can opener. What memories I have. Right here they are. On another occasion, I woke in the middle of the night, yelling incoming. Nothing was going on. Guys talked me into going back to sleep. I woke again with a started hollering incoming again, this time insisting everyone get in the hole. They did. Our hooch and my wreck took a direct hit. I still have the utilities. People don't know utilities are closed. I still have the utilities from that encounter, full of shrapnel holes and tucked away in my closet. Once again, I think this was my angel sitting on my shoulder. There you are, in a world one day, and home on the loose 2 days later. We landed at Marine Corps Air Station El Toro, or Grand Liberty. Nobody liked us. They shunned us. They knew we were Marines who had just come back home. From a distance, they would mock us. Tony and I came home by way of LA International, Chicago, here in Tri-City. Later met me with our new son, Joey. That may have been the happiest day of my whole life. End of story. Right? Wrong. Shortly after being home, Lena's mom asked me what the rash and sores were all over my legs. I just blew out that question. I wanted to get back to work with Buick. They were on strike. I finally got back to work. My fellow workers were tentative towards me. They would say, "Be careful of Joe. He's one of those Vietnam vets." I wasn't a him. So I moved on, and I was determined to get over it the best I could. I would wake up in the night hollering incoming and being violent. I started getting bad headaches and ended up being hospitalized. The rashes got worse. Mentally, I was unstable. I fell into depression. I was truly lost. So, suicide was a reasonable alternative. I was willing to leave my marriage and end it all. I did not know why. There was no place to turn. Like I say, we had a miscarriage in 1973. And I put her through a horrible time. I'm so happy she thought I was worth saving. I wrote a song about her about that. Here's the song, the lyrics. I was down in the world in the depths of despair. I made a wish and she was there. Just wanting to love me a lifetime through. And I love her so. My wish came true. Yeah, she hugged me and she stuck me and she held me and she loved me the whole night through. And she turned my world right for me it was good. And I love her so. My wish came true. I made a wish and she came true. She came into my life when I thought my life was through. And she looked me in the eye and said, I want you. And I love her so. My wish came true. And I love her. My wish came true. I still struggle. Maybe I understand a little better now. Fast forward to 1988. I started complaining about chest pains. A major manifestation of that was while hiking over here in Lake on the next to ice fishing. I dropped to my knees and could no longer go. The doctors could not find anything. I continued to struggle. In 1995, I could no longer continue to work at a reasonable energy level. I was off for 4 months. In 1996, more of the same, off work for 3 more months. In 1998, my doctor sent me to Uva for some determination. The doctor that ordered tests, the only thing he knew for sure was that I had some unresolved issues about Vietnam. While traveling for GM, I started meeting more and more Vietnam vets who had similar issues as I. Suicide, drug use, families broken up, unemployment due to instability, strange and mental health issues, and homelessness. Oh man, I wasn't the only one. I had my first heart intervention in the year of 2000. I had 2 stents placed. Then in 2004, I had 3 more stents placed. I bled out and died. I could no longer work after that when I was on disability. It was then, after GM went bankrupt, I learned of hospital help from the Veterans Administration with drug costs. I met a Purple Heart representative who explained Agent Orange to me and its ramifications. We made a successful application and they covered the cost of my drugs. In 2010, due to the NEMA lawsuit, they covered ischemic heart disease as an Agent Orange presumptive disease. I now have 9 stents, a double bypass. I'm a serious diabetic. I have many allergies and intolerances. I have some organ failures. My left eye has some loss of control due to nerve palsy. My body no longer recuperates quickly. I had a heart attack last August, another cardiac intervention in November. My body finally recovered well enough to get around in early February of this year. I've been hospitalized 11 times since 2000. I'm a lucky man. Now, along the way of this story, it's important for me to share this anecdote with you. As with many other Vietnam veterans, I held a great degree of animosity and distrust of Vietnamese people and would not tolerate myself being around them here stateside. And then, in a Catholic church we attended, the priests were changing and we got a Vietnamese priest, Father Joe. Lena said, well, after a few weeks of trying to avoid Father Joe, he finally caught me and have a good day, good week handshake line. For some reason, we struck up a good conversation and he expressed a desire to learn a little about fishing bluegills. Oh, I fish, that's what I do. So I took him fishing to one of our local lakes. We caught lots of good bluegills and we talked, and then we talked some more. Father Joe was born and lived in Toi Tien province, the same province that I was stationed in. He remembered the United States Marines, and I remembered the Vietnamese kids. He shared with me the story of how he came to the United States fought through the discriminations of the times and became who he was. Or rather, ironically, I thought, we became good friends. I forgave the Vietnamese people at that time. And it makes me think in today's world, and sometimes we get hung up on stuff, be angry with each other, ugly with each other. And how easy it was for me to forgive the Vietnamese people. We could just do a little more of that. You may ask what happened to Tony and Carlos. Carlos got injured in a rocket attack at Da Nang. He recovered stateside and volunteered to go back because Tony and I were there. When he came back home, he was a lost soul. He turned away from his family and died of what they say were complications from MS. He was in his early 30s. Tony came back and married. His first child was born with disabilities and has had lifelong complications. Tony Jr. And I sang Tony's song, My Girl Let Us Feel. Tony died of some complicated form of Parkinson's disease. Now, this band, this group of 5 musicians that we have, and some of them are in the audience, this isn't all of them. We play a couple of times a year at the VA hospital in Saginaw. I penned this lyric at one of those events. This is to the tune, Have You Ever Seen the Rain? Here we sit on the VA lawn, looking where my brothers have gone. I know it's been that way for all my time. Till forever on it goes. Just keep looking for those souls. I know. You can't stop, I wonder. That lyric is for Tony and Carlos. To the angel on my shoulder, my wife Lena. We're over 50 years married now. I write, we've been together now for half of forever. The memories have been great and so are you. We're older now. I love you more than ever. Making memories for me and you. Now, through all of this, I think, first of all, I will still fight to my death to defend our country. We live in a great country, made up of great people. Our freedom is what makes us great. We have service people all over this world that are counting on us, to make sure we do the right things concerning their health and welfare. Can we say that we're watching out for them as best we can? If not, remember, our country's been there and done that. So how can we help? We veterans need to help each other. If we are knowledgeable of someone who needs help, then help. If we know of someone who needs a gentle push to get help, then push. Sometimes you gotta push hard. Understand that veterans know and understand veterans. Utilize the service officers from Purple Heart, American Legion, VFW, Marine Corps League. There are many places to get help. The VA is a good place to turn to. Most of the people there are veterans, they understand it. It's also a great place to volunteer. Remember, we are, in fact, our brother's keepers. In closing, I'd like to thank all the people and organizations that made this event possible. For me, it forced me to understand myself a lot better. I have known for a long time now that I'm one of many, but I'm not alone anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. There's a lot said there. All of us who have experience, either in Vietnam or in the era there, have a story. Does it look like this? That'd be your good then. Wasn't mine. anyways, I just want to clear the air a little bit here. The VFW and all the agencies out there that help veterans have really done a fantastic job. I try to spend as much time in Florida as I can. I go down to Bay Pines Military Hospital, and I really get good care down there. And I just want to say that these atrocities that took place are a fluke. They're not an everyday occurrence. I have been in many hospitals throughout the Michigan, well, all over the United States for one thing or another, for war wounds, and I have had excellent treatment. I'd like to thank those. I'd like us to give them a big hand. This year I get hearing aids, 2 of them, every 4 years. And we're going to have one more song here.
We're going to have a fun song here. It kind of goes like this. My old boss would tell me, there you go, try to tell people what to do again. We're going to sing the military medley. We're going to do it a little bit different this time. We're going to start out with the Coast Guard, and then we're going to do the Air Force and the Navy and the Marines and then the Army. Typically what happens with you guys, when we sing your branch song, you stand up and then you sit down. This time, because we are our brothers and sisters and we care for each other, once you stand up and the next song comes along, then join in and make noise for that next branch, and then everybody's standing and make noise for that next branch, and make some noise because we're brothers and sisters and we're happy we're here. Y'all with me? Now, for the people that don't get up, there's some guys in blue back there. And I've talked to them already, and they will come and get you. Okay? So we're going to do this. We're going to start at A. We always ready for the call. We place our trust in Thee. Through surf and storm and howling, and I shall our purpose be. Separates is our guide, our fame and glory too. To find, to save, or right, and I know not we are for you. On we go, while you yonder, while you in the sun. Here they come, we are hunger, and the more they're gonna come. We have started to play on their love with all the road. We live there around, nothing else there for. Anchors on the way, Lord, anchors on the way. And come to Lord, to celebrate the day. And I am Lord, anchors of hope. Until we meet once more here, but you are happy for your home. The home of hallelujah, through the storm of the you will find our country battle in the air and the sea. To fight for right and freedom and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to play the part of United States Army. First to fight for the right and to happy Army. And the Army. I
At this time, we've reached the point where we get to honor the individuals with the Vietnam era Veterans Pins presentation, the congressional pins. Please line up to my left. Is that this left or that left? Wait, either left? Okay, that's good, I understand.
The military left.
So get lined up, come on up and get your pin, folks. Thank you.
I'd like to get a picture of
I was in motor transport. I was all over. What we're doing is. Thank Pat for all the backup time he put into this and continues to operate out there in Big City. Very happy.